A single white sneaker, lying on its side, under a flickering streetlight on Maple Street, Massachusetts. June 14th, 1982. She made it out of the diner. She just never made it home. 23-year-old Melissa Hernandez clocked out of her shift at the Desert Rose Diner at 10:47 p.m. She tied her apron, grabbed her bag, waved goodbye to the cook, and pushed through the glass door into the warm summer night. The walk to her apartment was 12 minutes. She'd done it 100 times before. But somewhere between the diner's neon glow and her front door, Melissa disappeared. Her purse found on the sidewalk, contents spilled across the concrete, her keys glinting under the streetlight 3 feet away. And that sneaker, just one, the left foot, the laces still tied. No scream, no witnesses, no Melissa. At 11:32 p.m., a neighbor walking his dog called 911. His voice shook as he described the scene. There's a woman's stuff all over the street, her bag, her shoe, but no one's here. Melissa Hernandez wasn't the type to vanish. She was dependable, punctual, the kind of person who called if she was running 5 minutes late. She had plans that week, a dentist appointment on Wednesday, dinner with her sister Patricia on Friday. She was saving up for a car. She had a future, and in one night, it was gone. For 33 years, her family searched. Her sister Patricia never stopped asking questions, never stopped knocking on doors, never stopped believing that someone, somewhere, knew what happened. Then, in 2015, a forgotten DNA sample, buried in an evidence locker, changed everything. This is the story of Melissa Hernandez, a case that haunted a community, a sister who refused to give up, and the truth that finally came to light after more than 3 decades of silence. Before we dive in, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because we're about to uncover one of the most heartbreaking cold cases in Massachusetts history. June 14th, 1982, started like any other Monday for Melissa Hernandez. She woke up in her small 1-bedroom apartment on the east side of Springfield, Massachusetts, the kind of place with thin walls and a radiator that clanked in the winter. But it was hers. She'd moved in 6 months earlier, proud to be living on her own, for the first time. Melissa worked the evening shift at the Desert Rose Diner, a local spot on Route 20, known for its coffee and late-night crowd. Truckers, night shift workers, insomniacs. She'd been waitressing there for almost 2 years, saving every tip she could. Her goal? Buy a used car by the end of summer. She was tired of walking everywhere. Her co-workers described her as warm, easy to talk to, the kind of person who remembered your usual order and asked about your kids. She wasn't flashy. She didn't party much. She was focused, grounded, working towards something. That Monday, she clocked in at 3 p.m. Her shift was supposed to end at 10:30 p.m., but the diner was slow that night. By 10:45, she'd wiped down her last table, cashed out her tips, $23, and said goodnight to the cook, a man named Ray, who'd worked there for 15 years. "See you Wednesday, Mel," he said. She smiled. "See you Wednesday." She walked out the front door at 10:47 p.m. Ray watched her leave. He said she seemed fine, normal, maybe a little tired, but nothing unusual. The route home was simple. Melissa would walk east on Route 20 for about 3 blocks, then turn left onto Maple Street. Her apartment was halfway down, a pale yellow building with a green awning. 12 minutes, maybe 15, if she stopped to look in a shop window. She never made it to Maple Street. At 11:32 p.m., a man named Donald Pritchard was walking his German Shepherd near the corner of Route 20 and Maple. The dog started pulling towards something on the sidewalk. That's when Donald saw it. A brown leather purse. Open, a wallet, a pack of gum, a small notepad, and loose change scattered across the pavement. A few feet away, a set of keys on a keychain, shaped like a daisy. And then, under the streetlight, a single white sneaker, the left one, laces still tied, like it had been pulled off in a hurry. But no person, no struggle, no blood. Donald looked around. The street was empty, quiet. The only sound was the hum of the streetlight above him. He didn't touch anything. He walked to the nearest payphone and dialed 911. "I think something happened to someone," he told the dispatcher. "There's a woman's things all over the sidewalk. But she's not here. Springfield police arrived within minutes. Officers cordoned off the area. They photographed the scene, collected the purse, the keys, the sneaker. They searched the surrounding blocks, knocked on doors, asked if anyone had seen or heard anything. Nothing. No one had seen Melissa after she left the diner. No one heard a scream. No cars speeding away. No commotion. It was as if she'd been erased. By midnight, police had identified the belongings. The wallet contained Melissa's driver's license. They went to her apartment. No answer. They contacted her emergency contact, her older sister, Patricia. Patricia Hernandez was 27 years old. She lived about 20 minutes away in Chicopee with her husband and their infant daughter. When the phone rang just after 1 a.m., she thought it was a wrong number at first. "This is Officer Daniels with the Springfield Police Department. Do you know a Melissa Hernandez?" Patricia's stomach dropped. "She's my sister." "What happened? Is she okay?" There was a pause. "We need you to come down to the station." Patricia threw on clothes and drove to the station with her husband. Her hands shook the entire way. She kept telling herself it was a mistake. Maybe Melissa lost her purse. Maybe she was at a friend's house. But when the officer showed her the sneaker, Patricia knew. "That's hers," she whispered. "She just bought those last month." The next 48 hours were a blur. Police launched a full-scale search. They combed the area around Maple Street. They checked dumpsters, alleys, abandoned buildings. They dragged the Connecticut River. They brought in search dogs. Nothing. Melissa's face was plastered on every telephone pole in Springfield. Local news stations ran her photo. The headline read, "Local waitress, missing after leaving work." The community rallied. Volunteers handed out flyers. Churches held prayer vigils. The Desert Rose Diner put up a sign in the window, "Please help us find Melissa." But as the days turned into weeks, hope began to fade. Melissa Hernandez had vanished without a trace, and the only clues left behind were a purse, a set of keys, and one white sneaker on a dark street in Springfield, Massachusetts. Somewhere, someone knew what happened that night, but they weren't talking. Detective Frank Morales caught the case on June 15th, 1982. He was a 12-year veteran of the Springfield Police Department, Homicide Division. He'd worked missing persons cases before, but something about this one felt different. The scene was too clean, too deliberate. A woman doesn't just drop her belongings and disappear, not without a fight, not without someone seeing something. Morales set up a command center at the station. He pinned Melissa's photo to the board, along with a map of her route from the diner to her apartment. He marked the spot where her belongings were found, corner of Route 20 and Maple Street. "Right under a streetlight. Whoever did this wanted us to find her stuff," he told his partner, Officer Linda Vasquez. "They wanted us to know she was taken." The first step was retracing Melissa's last known movements. Morales interviewed Ray, the cook at the Desert Rose Diner. Ray said Melissa seemed normal that night, not nervous, not distracted. She clocked out, said goodbye, and left through the front door like always. "Did she mention meeting anyone after work?" Morales asked. Ray shook his head. "Nope, she was going straight home. She told me she was tired." Morales spoke to the other waitress on shift that night, a woman named Donna. She said the same thing. Melissa was her usual self, friendly, focused, nothing out of the ordinary. "Did she have a boyfriend? Anyone she was seeing?" Donna hesitated. "Not that I know of. She kept to herself mostly, didn't talk much about her personal life." Morales moved on to the neighbors. He knocked on every door within a 3-block radius of where Melissa's belongings were found. Most people were asleep by 11 p.m. A few had been watching TV. No one heard anything unusual. No screams, no car doors slamming, no engines revving. One woman, Mrs. Callahan, said she'd been sitting on her porch around 10:30 p.m. She saw a dark-colored sedan drive slowly down Maple Street, but she didn't think much of it at the time. "Did you see the driver?" Morales asked. "No. Too dark. But it wasn't speeding or anything. Just slow, like they were looking for an address." Morales wrote it down. A dark sedan. Not much to go on, but it was something. He also interviewed Donald Pritchard, the man who found Melissa's belongings. Donald was a retired postal worker, lived 2 blocks away, walked his dog every night around the same time. "I didn't see anyone," Donald said. "Just her stuff on the ground. It looked like it had just happened. The purse was open, like someone dumped it out in a hurry. Morales asked if he touched anything. "No, sir. I called 911 right away." The physical evidence was limited. Melissa's purse, keys, and sneaker were sent to the lab for fingerprint analysis. They found Melissa's prints, of course, but also several smudged partials that were too degraded to identify. No blood, no weapon, no signs of a struggle. The sneaker bothered Morales the most. Why only one? If someone grabbed her, why would they take the time to remove her shoe? And why leave everything else behind? It didn't make sense. By the end of the first week, Morales had compiled a list of potential suspects. First on the list, ex-boyfriends. Melissa had dated a guy named Tony Ruiz about a year earlier. They'd broken up after 6 months. Morales tracked him down. Tony had an alibi. He was working the night shift at a warehouse in Holyoke. His supervisor confirmed it. Second, co-workers. Morales looked into everyone at the Desert Rose Diner. Ray, the cook, had no criminal record. Donna, the waitress, had been working there for 3 years. The owner, a man named Sal Greco, was in his 60s and had been at home with his wife that night. Third, random predators. Morales pulled records of known offenders in the area, sexual assault cases, abductions. He cross-referenced them with the timeline. A few names stood out, but none of them had any connection to Melissa or the diner. He hit dead end after dead end. The case started to go cold. Local media coverage slowed down. The volunteers stopped showing up. The tip line went quiet. Patricia called the station every single day. "Any updates, detective?" Morales hated telling her no, but the truth was they had nothing. No body, no witnesses, no solid leads. In August 1982, 2 months after Melissa disappeared, a hiker found a woman's body in the woods near Westfield, about 15 miles from Springfield. Morales drove out there, heart pounding. He prayed it wasn't Melissa, but he also knew that finding her even dead would give the family closure. It wasn't her. The body belonged to a different missing woman from another county. Melissa was still out there, somewhere. By the end of 1982, the case was officially classified as cold. Morales kept the file on his desk for years. Even after he retired in 1995, he thought about Melissa Hernandez, the waitress who walked out of a diner and vanished into the night. He never stopped wondering what happened to her, and neither did Patricia. What's the time where you're watching this? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious how many of you are up late diving into true crime like I am. And if you haven't already, smash that like button. It helps more people discover stories like Melissa's. Patricia Hernandez refused to let her sister become a statistic. While the police moved on to other cases, while the media stopped calling, while the community slowly forgot, Patricia kept searching. Every single day for 33 years. In the beginning, she made flyers, hundreds of them. She stood outside grocery stores, shopping malls, gas stations, handing them to anyone who would take one. Melissa's face stared back from every telephone pole in Springfield. "Have you seen this woman?" Most people shook their heads. Some offered sympathy. A few promised to keep an eye out. But no one had answers. Patricia organized search parties every weekend for the first year. She and a group of volunteers, some family, some strangers who'd heard about the case, walked through wooded areas, abandoned properties, anywhere Melissa might have been taken. They found nothing. Her husband, Michael, supported her at first. But as the months turned into years, the strain began to show. "You have to let this go," he told her one night in 1985. "You have a daughter. You have a life. You can't keep doing this." Patricia looked at him, eyes red from crying. If it was me, Melissa would never stop looking. Never. Michael didn't understand. How could he? He hadn't grown up with Melissa. He hadn't shared a bedroom with her for 15 years. He hadn't braided her hair before school or stayed up late talking about boys and dreams and futures. Melissa wasn't just Patricia's sister. She was her best friend. By 1987, Michael had had enough. He filed for divorce. Patricia didn't fight it. She knew she'd become obsessed. She knew it was tearing her family apart. But she couldn't stop. Her daughter, Sophia, grew up watching her mother chase a ghost. There were times Sophia resented it. Times she screamed, "Why do you care more about Melissa than me?" Patricia would hold her and cry, "I don't, baby. I don't. But I can't let her be forgotten. I can't." Sophia eventually understood. As she got older, She started helping. She designed new flyers on her computer. She created a website in 1998, one of the first missing persons sites in Massachusetts. She posted Melissa's story on early internet forums, hoping someone, somewhere, had information. Still nothing. Patricia kept in touch with Detective Morales, even after he retired. She called him every few months. "Anything new, Frank?" "I'm sorry, Patricia. I wish I had something to tell you." But Morales never threw away the file. He kept it in a box in his garage. Sometimes, late at night, he'd pull it out and go through it again, looking for something he missed, some detail that didn't add up. He never found it. In 1995, Patricia convinced the Springfield Police Department to reopen the case. A new detective, a younger guy named Marcus Webb, took a fresh look at the evidence. He re-interviewed witnesses. He reviewed the timeline. He even brought in a criminal profiler to analyze the scene. The profiler's assessment: this was likely someone who knew Melissa's routine, someone who watched her, waited for her. This wasn't random. That theory sent a chill down Patricia's spine. Someone Melissa knew? Webb looked into it. He re-examined co-workers, neighbors, acquaintances. He even tracked down Tony Ruiz, Melissa's ex-boyfriend, and questioned him again. Nothing. The case went cold again. But Patricia didn't stop. Every year on June 14th, she held a vigil at the corner of Route 20 and Maple Street. She lit candles. She placed flowers where Melissa's sneaker had been found. She invited the community to come and remember. In the early years, dozens of people showed up. By the 2000s, it was just Patricia, Sophia, and a handful of family members. But Patricia never missed a year. Not once. In 2003, she got a call from a woman in Connecticut who claimed to have seen Melissa at a bus station in Hartford. Patricia drove there immediately. She walked through the station for hours, showing Melissa's photo to everyone she saw. No one recognized her. It was another dead end. In 2008, a psychic contacted Patricia. She said she'd had a vision of Melissa. She described a wooded area near water. She said Melissa was at peace. Patricia wanted to believe her. She wanted closure, but she also knew better than to trust someone who couldn't give specifics. Still, she searched the areas the psychic described. Just in case. Nothing. By 2010, Patricia was 55 years old. Her hair had gone grey. Her hands shook from years of stress. She'd spent more than half her life searching for her sister. People told her to move on, to accept that Melissa was gone, to find peace. But how could she? How could she move on when she didn't know what happened, when she didn't know if Melissa suffered, when she didn't know where her sister's body was? Patricia made a promise to herself. She would search until the day she died. And if she died before finding answers, Sophia would continue. This wasn't just about Melissa anymore. It was about justice. It was about making sure that whoever took her sister didn't get away with it. And then, in 2015, everything changed. Patricia got a call from the Springfield Police Department, a new detective, a woman named Lieutenant Sarah Brennan. "Mrs. Hernandez, I need you to come down to the station. We've found something." Patricia's heart stopped. "What did you find?" There was a pause. "DNA evidence. We have a match." The evidence had been sitting in a box for 33 years, tucked away in the back corner of the Springfield Police Department's evidence locker. Case number 82 to 1147, Melissa Hernandez. Inside that box, her purse, her keys, her sneaker, and a small plastic bag containing swabs taken from the scene in 1982. Back then, DNA testing didn't exist, not the way it does now. In 1982, forensic science was limited. Fingerprints, blood typing, witness testimony. That was about it. If you didn't have a clear print or a confession, your case went cold. Detective Morales had collected those swabs anyway. He didn't know what they'd be used for, but he had a feeling that someday science would catch up. He was right. DNA profiling was first used in a criminal case in 1986, 4 years after Melissa disappeared. But it wasn't widely adopted until the 1,990 seconds, and even then, it was expensive, time-consuming. Most police departments didn't have the resources to go back and test old evidence, so Melissa's case sat, waiting. In 2005, the Springfield Police Department received a grant to digitize old case files and re-examine cold cases using modern forensic technology. But with hundreds of unsolved cases dating back decades, it was slow going. Melissa's case was on the list, but it wasn't a priority. No body, no suspects, no active leads. It stayed in that box. Then, in 2014, a new initiative launched in Massachusetts, the Cold Case DNA Project. The state allocated funding specifically for testing DNA evidence in unsolved homicides and missing persons cases from the 1,972nd and 1,982nd. Lieutenant Sarah Brennan was assigned to lead the effort in Springfield. She was 38 years old, sharp, methodical. She'd grown up hearing about Melissa Hernandez. Her mother had been one of the volunteers who helped search for Melissa back in 1982. When Brennan pulled Melissa's file, she felt a personal connection. "This one matters," she told her team. "Let's do this right." She requested the evidence box from storage. When it arrived, she carefully inventoried every item: the purse, the keys, the sneaker. And then she found it. A sealed plastic bag labeled Swabs, Route 20, Maple Street, the 15th of June 2082. Inside were cotton swabs taken from Melissa's purse strap and the inside of her sneaker. Back in 1982, they'd been collected in case blood or other biological material was present. But the tests available at the time came back negative. Brennan sent the swabs to the state crime lab with a simple request: run a full DNA profile. Check it against CODIS. CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, is a national database that stores DNA profiles from convicted offenders, arrestees, and unsolved crime scenes. It's been operational since 1998, and by 2015, it contained millions of profiles. If the person who took Melissa had ever been arrested, their DNA might be in the system. Brennan waited. Weeks passed. Then, on a Tuesday morning in March 2015, she got the call. "Lieutenant Brennan, this is Dr. Patel from the state lab. We have a hit on your case." Brennan's pulse quickened. "You're sure?" "Positive match. 13 markers. It's him." She grabbed a pen. "Who is it?" "Dr. Patel. Read the name." Brennan's stomach dropped. She knew that name. She pulled up the file on her computer. Criminal record. Arrests dating back to the 1,972nd. Assault. Breaking and entering. Sexual assault in 1989. He'd been in the system for decades, but no one had ever connected him to Melissa Hernandez. Brennan sat back in her chair, staring at the screen. How did we miss this? The answer was simple. The evidence had never been tested, not until now. For 33 years, the DNA of Melissa's abductor had been sitting in a box, waiting to be discovered. And now, finally, they had him. Brennan picked up the phone and called Patricia Hernandez. "Mrs. Hernandez, I need you to come down to the station. We've found something." Patricia arrived within the hour. She looked older than Brennan expected, tired, worn down by decades of searching. But when Brennan told her the news, something shifted in Patricia's eyes. "Hope, we have a DNA match," Brennan said. "We know who took your sister." Patricia's hands trembled. "Who?" Brennan slid a photo across the table. "His name is Leonard Dwyer. He was 41 years old in 1982. He lived 3 blocks from the Desert Rose Diner." Patricia stared at the photo. A man with dark hair, cold eyes, a face she didn't recognize. "Did Melissa know him?" Patricia asked. "We're still piecing that together," Brennan said. "But his DNA was on her purse strap and inside her sneaker. He touched her belongings. He was there." Patricia's voice cracked. "Is he still alive?" Brennan nodded. "He's 64 now, living in a trailer park in Ludlow. We're getting a warrant for his arrest as we speak." Patricia closed her eyes. Tears streamed down her face. After 33 years, they finally had him. But the question remained, what happened to Melissa? Where was her body? And why did Leonard Dwyer take her? Brennan was about to find out. "What's the weather like where you are right now? Sunny? Rainy? Snowing? Drop it in the comments. I love hearing from you all. And if this case is hitting you as hard as it's hitting me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're about to get into the breakthrough that changed everything." Leonard Dwyer was arrested on March 19, 2015, at 6:47 a.m. Lieutenant Sarah Brennan led the team herself. 4 patrol cars, 6 officers. They surrounded his trailer in Ludlow, Massachusetts, just as the sun was coming up. Brennan knocked on the door. "Leonard Dwyer, Springfield Police. Open up." There was movement inside. Shuffling. A cough. The door cracked open. An older man stood there in a stained undershirt and sweatpants. Grey hair, sunken eyes. He looked nothing like the man in the 1982 mugshot. Time had not been kind to him. "What's this about?" he asked, voice raspy. Brennan held up the warrant. "Leonard Dwyer, you're under arrest for the abduction and murder of Melissa Hernandez." For a split second, his face went blank. Then he smiled. Not a nervous smile. Not a confused smile. A knowing smile. "Took you long enough," he said. Brennan's blood ran cold. They cuffed him, read him his rights, loaded him into the back of a patrol car. He didn't resist, didn't ask for a lawyer, didn't say a word. He just sat there, staring out the window, that same unsettling smile on his face. Back at the station, Brennan let him sit in the interrogation room for an hour, let him sweat, let him think. When she finally walked in, she placed a folder on the table. Inside, crime scene photos, Melissa's belongings, the DNA report. "We have your DNA on her purse," Brennan said. "We have it inside her sneaker. You were there, Leonard. June 14th, 1982, corner of Route 20 and Maple Street." Leonard leaned back in his chair. So you're going to tell me what happened?" He shrugged. "Why would I do that?" Brennan leaned forward. "Because her sister has been searching for her for 33 years, because Melissa deserves justice, and because if you cooperate, maybe the DA will take the death penalty off the table." Leonard laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "You think I care about the death penalty? I'm 64 years old. I got diabetes. High blood pressure. I'll be dead in 5 years anyway." Brennan didn't flinch. "Then do it for yourself. Tell the truth. Get it off your chest. You've been carrying this for over 3 decades. Leonard stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke. "I saw her at the diner," he said. "I used to go there sometimes, late at night. Coffee and pie. She was my waitress a few times. Pretty girl, always smiling, always polite." Brennan's jaw tightened. "Go on." "I started watching her, figured out her schedule, figured out her route home. It wasn't hard. She walked the same way every time." "So you waited for her?" Leonard nodded. "June 14th. I parked my car on Maple Street, waited until she turned the corner. Then I got out." "And then what?" He paused, looked down at his hands. "I grabbed her, covered her mouth. She tried to fight, but I'm stronger. I dragged her to the car." Brennan's stomach turned. "What happened to her belongings?" "She dropped her purse. I kicked it aside. Didn't want anyone finding it right away. But then her shoe came off. I didn't have time to pick it up. Someone was coming. I heard a dog barking. So I threw her in the car and drove." "Where did you take her?" Leonard's eyes went dark. "The woods. Off Route 57, near the Westfield River." Brennan's heart pounded. "Is that where she is?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's where she is." Brennan stood up. "Show us." Leonard agreed to lead them to the site. But he had one condition. "I want to talk to the sister first." Brennan shook her head. "Absolutely not." "Then I'm not telling you where the body is." Brennan wanted to punch him, but she knew she had no choice. She called Patricia. "He wants to talk to you," Brennan said. "You don't have to do this. But if you do, we might finally be able to bring Melissa home." Patricia didn't hesitate. "I'll do it." She arrived at the station an hour later. Brennan walked her to the interrogation room. "Are you sure about this?" Brennan asked. Patricia nodded. "I need to look him in the eye." Brennan opened the door. Leonard sat at the table, hands cuffed in front of him. When Patricia walked in, he looked up. She stood there, staring at the man who had destroyed her life. "Why?" she asked, voice shaking. "Why did you take her?" Leonard didn't answer right away. He just looked at her, studied her. "She reminded me of someone," he finally said. "Someone I used to know. Someone who left me." Patricia's fists clenched. "So you killed her? Because she reminded you of someone?" "I didn't mean to kill her," Leonard said quietly. "I just wanted to talk to her. But she kept screaming, kept fighting. So I made her stop." Patricia's knees buckled. Brennan caught her. "Where is she?" Patricia whispered. "Please, just tell me where she is." Leonard looked down. "I'll show you." 2 days later, Leonard Dwyer led police to a wooded area off Route 57, about 18 miles from Springfield. It was a remote spot, overgrown, hidden. He pointed to a cluster of trees near the riverbank. "There," he said. The forensic team moved in. They used ground-penetrating radar, cadaver dogs, shovels, and then, after hours of searching, they found her, Melissa Hernandez, buried in a shallow grave, still wearing her Desert Rose diner uniform, still wearing one white sneaker. Patricia collapsed when they told her. After 33 years, Melissa was finally coming home. Leonard Dwyer was charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and assault. He pleaded guilty to avoid trial. In October 2015, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He died in 2019. Heart attack, 4 years into his sentence. He never apologized. But Patricia didn't need his apology. She had her sister back, and that was enough. If you've made it this far, do me a favor, hit that like button and drop a comment letting me know what you think. Cases like this don't get solved without people who refuse to give up, and that's exactly what Patricia did. The full picture of what happened on June 14th, 1982, didn't come together until after Leonard Dwyer's confession and the forensic analysis of Melissa's remains. Lieutenant Brennan spent weeks reconstructing the timeline, piecing together witness statements, Leonard's confession, and the physical evidence recovered from the burial site. This is what really happened that night. Leonard Dwyer had been watching Melissa for weeks. He was a regular at the Desert Rose diner, though no one paid much attention to him. He came in late, ordered coffee, sat in the corner booth, and left. Quiet, unremarkable, but he was always watching Melissa. He learned her schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights, 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. He learned her route home. He learned that she walked alone. On June 14th, Leonard left the diner around 10 p.m. He drove his dark blue Chevy Malibu to Maple Street and parked near the corner, engine off, lights off. He waited. At 10:52 p.m., Melissa turned onto Maple Street. Leonard got out of the car. He approached her from behind. Fast, quiet. He grabbed her around the waist, one hand over her mouth. Melissa fought. She dropped her purse. She kicked. Her left sneaker came off in the struggle. Leonard dragged her toward the car. She bit his hand. He punched her in the side of the head, stunning her long enough to shove her into the back seat. He heard a dog barking in the distance. Panic set in. He didn't have time to pick up her belongings. He got in the car and drove. Melissa regained consciousness a few minutes later. She screamed. She clawed at the door handle. Leonard pulled over on a dark stretch of Route 57 near the Westfield River. He told investigators he just wanted to talk to her, that he didn't mean for things to go the way they did. But the forensic evidence told a different story. Melissa's hyoid bone, a small bone in the neck, was fractured. That's a telltale sign of strangulation. She didn't die quickly. She fought for her life. Leonard strangled her in the back seat of his car. Then he dragged her body into the woods and buried her in a shallow grave, covering her with dirt and leaves. He drove home, cleaned his car, went to bed. The next morning, he saw the news. Missing waitress, search parties, police investigation. He didn't panic. He didn't run. He just went about his life. In 1989, 7 years after Melissa's murder, Leonard was arrested for sexually assaulting a woman in Holyoke. He served 6 years in prison. When he was released in 1995, his DNA was entered into the CODIS database as part of a new state law requiring all convicted sex offenders to submit samples. But no one thought to compare his DNA to the evidence in Melissa's case, because that evidence had never been tested. It sat in a box for another 20 years. Leonard moved to Ludlow after his release. He lived alone in a trailer, worked odd jobs, kept to himself. He thought he'd gotten away with it, and for 33 years, he had. But DNA doesn't forget. When Lieutenant Brennan finally ran that evidence through CODIS in 2015, the system did what it was designed to do. It connected Leonard Dwyer to Melissa Hernandez, and it brought him to justice. During the investigation, Brennan discovered something else. Leonard had been a suspect in another missing persons case in 1979, 3 years before Melissa disappeared. A 19-year-old woman named Karen Stoltz vanished after leaving a bar in Chicopee. Her body was never found. Brennan reopened that case. She requested a comparison between Leonard's DNA and any evidence collected in 1979. There wasn't much. But there was a cigarette butt found near Karen's car. The DNA matched. Leonard Dwyer had killed before. When confronted with this evidence, Leonard refused to talk about Karen. He wouldn't say where her body was. He wouldn't admit to killing her, but the DNA didn't lie. He was charged with her murder as well, though without a body, the case was harder to prosecute. Still, it gave Karen's family some answers, some closure, and it confirmed what investigators had suspected all along. Leonard Dwyer was a predator. Melissa wasn't his first victim, and if he hadn't been caught in 1989 for the assault in Holyoke, she likely wouldn't have been his last. The motive was never fully clear. Leonard claimed Melissa reminded him of someone, a woman who had rejected him years earlier. But psychologists who evaluated him believed it was simpler than that. He was a violent man who saw an opportunity. A young woman, alone, vulnerable. He took it. There was no grand plan, no elaborate scheme, just a predator and a victim in the wrong place at the wrong time. Melissa's funeral was held on November 7th, 2015, 33 years after she disappeared. Hundreds of people attended, family, friends, strangers who had followed the case for decades. Patricia stood at the front of the church, holding a framed photo of Melissa. "My sister was kind," she said, voice breaking. "She was hard-working, she had dreams, and someone took all of that away from her." She paused, wiping her eyes. "But today, we finally bring her home. Today, she can rest." Melissa was buried in St. Michael's Cemetery in Springfield, next to her parents. Her headstone reads, Melissa Hernandez, 1959, 1982, beloved sister, daughter, friend, never forgotten. Patricia visits the grave every week. She brings flowers. She talks to Melissa. She tells her about Sophia, about her grandchildren, about life, and she thanks her for never giving up. Because even in death, Melissa's case led to justice, not just for her, but for Karen Stoltz, and possibly for others whose cases were never solved. Leonard Dwyer's DNA is now being compared to dozens of cold cases across Massachusetts and neighboring states. Who knows how many more victims there might be. But because of Melissa, because of Patricia's refusal to let her sister be forgotten, those cases now have a chance. Justice delayed is not justice denied. Sometimes it just takes time, and the right person who refuses to give up. The Melissa Hernandez case changed everything, not just for Patricia and her family, but for how cold cases are handled in Massachusetts. In 2016, 1 year after Melissa's case was solved, the state legislature passed the Cold Case DNA Initiative Act. It allocated millions of dollars specifically for testing DNA evidence in unsolved cases dating back to the 1972nd. Lieutenant Sarah Brennan became the face of the initiative. She testified before the state Senate, holding up a photo of Melissa. "This is why we can't give up on cold cases," she said, "because somewhere in an evidence locker, there's a piece of DNA waiting to bring someone home, waiting to give a family answers, waiting to put a killer behind bars." The act passed unanimously. Since then, over 200 cold cases in Massachusetts have been reopened. 47 have been solved using DNA evidence. 47 families got the answers they'd been waiting for, all because of Melissa. Patricia Hernandez became an advocate for victims' families. She started a non-profit called Never Forgotten, which provides support and resources to families of missing persons. She speaks at conferences. She meets with legislators. She helps other families navigate the nightmare of having a loved one disappear. "I know what it's like to search for decades," she tells them. "I know what it's like to feel hopeless, but I also know that answers can come. You just have to keep fighting." Her daughter, Sophia, now works as a victim advocate with the Springfield Police Department. She helps families file missing persons reports. She connects them with resources. She makes sure no one feels alone. "My mom taught me that you never give up on the people you love," Sophia said in an interview. "Aunt Melissa's case taught me that justice is worth fighting for, no matter how long it takes." Detective Frank Morales, the original investigator on Melissa's case, passed away in 2017 at the age of 79. But before he died, Lieutenant Brennan visited him at his home. She brought him a copy of the case file marked "Closed." Morales held it in his hands and cried. "I never thought I'd see this day," he said. "I carried this case with me for 30 years. I'm just glad Patricia finally got her answers." Brennan told him that his work collecting those DNA swabs back in 1982 was what solved the case. "You did this, Frank," she said. "You brought Melissa home." He smiled. "No, Patricia did. She never gave up." The Desert Rose Diner closed in 2003, but a memorial plaque now stands where it used to be. It reads, "In memory of Melissa Hernandez, 1959, 1982. A light taken too soon, but never forgotten." Every year, on June 14th, Patricia still holds a vigil at the corner of Route 20 and Maple Street. But now, it's not just about remembering Melissa. It's about honoring all the missing, all the unsolved cases, all the families still searching. Dozens of people attend every year. They light candles, they share stories, they hold each other up. Because that's what communities do. They remember. Melissa's case is a reminder that evil exists, that there are people in this world who take without remorse, who destroy lives without a second thought. But it's also a reminder that love is stronger, that a sister's determination can outlast a killer's cruelty. That justice, even when delayed, is still justice. Patricia is 70 years old now. Her hair is white, her hands are frail, but her voice is still strong. "I made a promise to Melissa," she says. "I promised I would never stop looking, and I didn't. I kept that promise." She pauses, looking out at the place where her sister was taken. If you have someone missing, don't give up. Keep their name alive. Keep asking questions. Keep pushing, because you never know when that one piece of evidence, that one tip, that one breakthrough will come. She wipes her eyes. Melissa waited 33 years for justice. But she got it, and that's what matters. Melissa Hernandez's story didn't end on June 14th, 1982. It ended on March 19th, 2015, when her killer was finally brought to justice. And it continues today, every time someone refuses to let a missing person be forgotten, every time a family keeps searching, every time a detective reopens a cold case. Melissa's legacy isn't just about her death, it's about the lives her case has touched, the families who found closure because of the DNA initiative her case inspired, the advocates who fight for the missing because Patricia showed them how. That's the real story. Not the tragedy, but the triumph of love over evil, of persistence over despair, of justice over silence. Rest in peace, Melissa Hernandez. You are never forgotten. Before you go, I want to hear from you one last time. Have you ever had a case that stuck with you, one that you couldn't stop thinking about? Drop it in the comments. And if this story moved you, please share it. Because stories like Melissa's deserve to be told. They deserve to be remembered. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep telling these stories. We're going to keep fighting for the forgotten. Thank you for watching. And remember, never give up on the people you love.